Yeah. Oh shit. This about to be a long one, so bear with me. Sorry for being late to the party. So total, I have four sisters. We were all raised under, in my mom's house. It was difficult growing up for me, being the only boy. Listen at la 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 la, all that shit all the time. Oh my gosh, bro, do you know how happy I was when Power Rangers came on? Man, whew, I was so happy. But yeah, shout out to all my sisters. No matter if we talk or if we don't, it's all love. And shout out to all my family. But yeah, I got four sisters, no brothers. The only boy in the immediate family. Let me stop slouch and scoot up too. Um, yeah, I'm still working on equipment and stuff. Bear with me. But yeah, so yeah, I got grew up in Detroit. We was pretty poor. Lived with my mom, my grandma. My father was there on the weekends. Every weekend, no fail. Never failed to be there. He was always there for me. Rest in peace. He died in April 29th, 2020, right in the smack in the pandemic. He died from liver cancer. Um, I'm gonna go into more details on specific things like my mother, my father, my. I may go into my childhood. I may not. You know, it depends. But those are gonna be separate things down the line that I may or may not choose to go into. But yeah, life was a little bit difficult growing up, but it was still fun. I was happy most of the time, just like a regular kid. Grew up. You know what I mean? Went to school. Got in a bunch of fights and shit. Got my ass kicked a lot of the times. Then my mom put me in karate by the time I was about 8. And that changed my life. Shout out to Grandmaster Bay. You can find him all over social media. He's out there now. I love it. Just seeing one of the toughest, coolest guys ever making TikToks and shit. It's gold. I love you, Master Bay, dude. You made a great impression on me. Karate or Taekwondo in general was a Hungar Kung Fu, a South Korean form of Korean form of kicking and blocking, I believe. Yeah, it's been a minute, but I got up to a blue belt, and this wasn't no willy nilly class. My karate master, what we would call him, or sensei, as you will. In Asian cultures, these words master and sensei, they mean totally different things. It's a sign of respect, not dominance. But so every 3 months we would have a test where we would either break boards and spar or just whatnot. And if you could do the forms, and if you're sparring and you're doing good in the tournaments and stuff, you would progress to the next belt. But if you weren't really focused, you was goofing around, you wasn't learning the forms. I was bad at the higher forms that I got up. You wouldn't get the belt. If you were growing in certain places, you would get what's called a dan, or what you would call a stripe on the belt. What you would see if you Google Taekwondo and Tang Sudo as well. So I got up to a blue belt. So the order goes white, yellow, and belts. So white belt, yellow belt, orange belt, purple belt, green belt, blue belt, brown belt, red and black belt, red belt, then the black belt. So I was at the blue belt. So I was brown, red and black, red. So I was 4 away from a black belt. 4 belts away from a black belt. So don't fuck with me. I'll kick your ass. Broken hip or not. But anywho, yeah, I learned karate. It changed my life. It taught me discipline, how to avoid fights, how to use my words, how to stand up for what I believe in. Nevertheless, always striving to be the best. It completely changed who I was and gave me the confidence I needed to move forward in life. And it's one of the things I encourage people to do. Go to karate, dude. Learn taekwondo. It's not as taboo as it seems. Like, it's really, really great, and it's eye-opening things that I can still do to this day. That could potentially save someone else's or my own life. It's self-defense. The first thing we were taught was discipline. We weren't taught, like, when I first joined the karate. Here's a good story. When I first joined the karate class, and he was Sensei Bay at that time. Um, he was a fourth degree black belt. He was a black man. He was a lieutenant in the Detroit Police Force. We was right off for Dexter in a building, and we would just stretch and do the drills, front punch, horse stands, we would teach us the kata or the forms, and that's what we were doing for the most part. But at the first test, or the second test I went through, because it took me a minute to get the groove of everything and really focus. But when I did, I finally got the orange belt. And then Master Bay, I'll never forget this, man. I'll never forget this. He was like, all right. So he called one of the students up. Come here. He was like, midsection dragon tail punch, which is a basic, punch straight forward. So he was basically saying, punch me. So whenever he called out the move, you do it. So one of the students, midsection dragon tail punch. He did a takedown so quick and cool, it blew my mind. He did basically the quick arm wrap takedown, sweep behind the leg. And he was like, this is what we're going to be learning next. We're going to be learning takedowns. From that moment on, I was in. I'm in. Like Rick and Morty. I'm in. Fuck it, I'm in. I was sold, bro. It changed my life. I learned some of the coolest things. Went all over Michigan. We were even training for the Olympics in Taekwondo. Like, I was really serious for about 4 years into it. Then life happened, and yeah, that's pretty much that. Moving forward, I after that, honestly, I had moved. After the 4 years later, I was basically moving to Ypsilanti, and that's where I started seventh grade later in the year. And the oddest thing about Ypsilanti to me was that there were all types of people in Detroit during the 90s and early 2000s. All I saw was black people, maybe a few white people, but I never seen so many Arabic people and Asian people, and I learned so much about diversity in Ypsilanti, and that's one of the greatest things. And then I started from seventh grade. I started working with Growing Hope. They had an after-school program called Roots and Shoots. I joined that program. We built a garden behind the West Middle School, where I went to middle school. And from there, I did the summer youth program where we learned how to start a business. And by eighth grade, they hired your boy. So I was probably one of the only eighth graders at that time actually working for a nonprofit. They're called Growing Hope. Changed my life. So let's go into Growing Hope. Um, yeah, so I was about 12 years old, and I had to do a professional interview. Well, it wasn't. It was kind of, they were taking it easy on me. They didn't hold me to the fire. I was an eighth grader. So they did the interview, and they was like, okay, we're going to hire you as an intern, and you're going to get what's called a stipend. So if no one knows what a stipend is a payment based on whatever services, basically like an allowance. Say, hey, you do this service, we're going to give you this money. It's not taxable because I was a child and, child labor. So it's technically illegal. But at that time, you could do the stipend, of course. Just like any intern, you get a stipend, you know what I mean? If you're considered for that company. So if you know business, you know what I'm talking about. But why do I sound like some fucking corporate CEO? But no, seriously though. Yeah, so from there, I started working with them, doing gardening and healthy food access, doing food demos, cutting. I'm growing stuff like I've grown peppers. I've grown broccoli. I've grown squash. I've grown pumpkins, watermelons, tomatoes, potatoes, beans, collard greens. You name flowers, marigolds, zinnias. Uh, uh, I've planted trees. I've done it all. I even help. If you go to Growing Hope, their headquarters, and just Google it, you could in Ypsilanti, Michigan. You can tour. It's open to the public, and you can see in the back that there is an earth oven. I helped build. I was the project manager for the foundation of that. I was only 16 years old at that time. So 12 to 16 to 18, technically, yeah, I was I was working for Growing Hope. So, yeah, it made a big difference in my life, changed my whole perspective on things, and especially when it comes to white people, black people. You know, I don't, I don't really have a chip on my shoulder when it comes to being around white people and experiencing different things and with them and talking to them so much has really opened my eyes to how similar we are as people. Like a lot of people want to play the role of uh, the archetypes and stereotypes. Say a black person's supposed to be like this, a white person's supposed to be like that. We're supposed to be different. That's bullshit. We all are basically the same. We just come in different packages and different personalities, different interests, things of that nature. But at the core, we all want love, we all need love, and we all want and need peace. And that's what matters. So that's what working with them. I'm surrounded by white people for the first time in my life, and they're just giving me all this game. Hey, business, start. You gotta have your marketing. This, when you speak, and that's why I have my vernacular, is the way that it is. I was doing tours at 15 years old, 14 years old, saying, hey, this is our sunflower garden here, and this is our strawberries. I've grown strawberries too. I've grown cucumbers. It's like, I'm going to do my Bubba Gump shit. That's going to probably be one of my gimmicks, is I'm just keep naming vegetables and different things that I've grown. That's my stunt, okay? That's how I stunt. I planted some shit. No, but by the time I was 16, 17, I was at that time I applied for AmeriCorps, which they employ young people and youth or older people, and you work for charities, which Growing Hope, in which I'm referencing, they are a 501c3, which is a nonprofit or charity, as you will. So I went for AmeriCorps. Got in. They pay you $900 a month. That was the first time I was making money like that. But you have to work 8 hours a day, or you have to have 40 hours a week. You have to. Or you can lose the education reward, which is after the project or like the summer season. So it goes for a season. After that, you have to well, you don't have to, but basically they'll give you like $1,100 towards college. You know what I mean? So once you go to college, you can use that towards tuition or just as a loan, whatever, whatnot. It came to me as a loan when I went to college. So jumping off of that, I went through AmeriCorps with Growing Hope, and I was the urban farm manager, baby. I was turning compost, which is shit, and in essence, I was up in the morning, 9 a.m. in the hot ass hoop house picking tomatoes and trimming and trellising them, just making sure that the vines, oh my gosh. It was the hardest job I've ever done. And this story is going to have to be a part two. I'm already 16 minutes in. But I may just make this long form. Fuck it. So here we go. Fuck it, let's get it. I'm Orlando Brown. But no, seriously, yeah, it was the toughest job I've ever had. Um, I was an urban farm manager, so I had to make sure our urban farm was tip top shape. Make sure mowing the lawn, weed whacking, picking the plants, doing the whole thing. I'm not gonna lie. Shout out to JP. Wherever you are, I miss you, bro. He was a great, wholesome dude, and he was the head farm manager. So we split the position. He was basically my superior, but they hired me as that position as well because of my experience. So we worked together. We had close birthdays too. He was a great guy. Great guy. Great guy. I miss you, JP. Taught me so much about patience and getting your ass up and going to work. As much as I hated it, he used to be like, Roy, you're late again. Roy, you can't call off, okay? Like, like it taught me that. 16 or 17 years old. And Amanda, shout out to you. She's in the UK now. She used to be on my ass too. Like, Roy, don't embarrass me. She was like a second mom to me. So Growing Hope has been with me my whole life, and that part of my life came from Ypsilanti, Michigan. So shout out to y'all, man. I've lived like that's the second life I've lived. So life three, college, and college. So a lot of things happened in between. I ended up moving out of my mom's house at 17, going to live with my friend in the back of a church out in out in Nipsey. And then I had got a job as a singer, actually. It called a place called Leone's Bistro. I was 18 years old, fresh out of high school. It was my dream job. And they had just started up a business on Washington Avenue in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And I was the musician. I had my keyboard, or they had a keyboard for me actually too, but I had my own too. So we had a keyboard. I brought a microphone, the preamp. I had the whole studio equipment, everything. And I would come there and I would perform sets, singing "My Sherry Amore, lovely as a summer day." I would do the whole nine, and it was a bistro. So I'm coming in the suit. I ain't look shit like this. Y'all getting me in the raw form, in my rare form. This is me when I'm writing them raps. Like, this ain't me when I come on the stage. So when I do my podcast, I'm gonna be laid back. I ain't gonna be dressing up and shit. No, but I am gonna give you great content. So going forward with the story, catching up. Sorry, I'm late to the party, y'all. So I gotta cover a lot. I'm late to the party, but where was I at? Okay, right, Leone's Bistro. I was perform all types of songs. You name it, I play by ear and by music. Oh yeah, and also I learned piano. I learned how to play piano in middle school. Shout out to Miss Jones. Oh my gosh, she was an amazing teacher. She taught me music theory and the circle of eights, eighths. You know what I mean if you know jazz, and if you're a musician, circle of eighths. And fingering, if you're a pianist, you know what I mean. It's not what you think. It's an actual music theory term, fingering. I've learned all of that. But yeah, I used to play at Leone's Bistro, and after about 6 months, they came to me and they were like, "So the guy I was working for, let me tell you this first. This was my first experience with racism. Not when I was working with Growing Hope. Not when I was working at the art fair for 6, 7 years growing up. No. My first experience with racism was with Leone's Bistro. So when the guy first hired me, let's start from there. I came in because a friend who would come to the farmer's market where I worked with Growing Hope, he told me, he was like, "Hey, we're starting up a new place. You performing?" I would perform at the farmer's market, actually. I was the first performer at the farmer's market, actually. So it's a little piece of history. But I would perform there. He was like, "Hey, you should come up audition." So bing, bang, boom. Bada bong. Bing, bong there. I came to there, and the guy was really aggressively mean. So he's like, "All right, what do you do?" I was like, "Yeah, I sing. I could play the piano too. I could do it without looking." He's like, "All right, what you got? Show me what you got." Just like that. And I'm like, "Okay." Da, 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 and just doing my little song, whatever. Use and it's the funniest thing, because when you're singing and whenever you sing to someone, whether you're performing or not, you're serenading them. You're pulling out an emotion that is very rare and that is very core to us as as human beings. We have that special thing about us, where we can speak, communicate, and we can understand our music. You know what I mean? So I can see him starting to slowly break down a little bit, and just going from this to. So it was interesting, and then he's like, "All right, you're hired." He was, and he said it like, like, it was. He said it like it was undeniable, and I didn't even know. It was the weirdest thing. So I'm performing here. I'm doing the Sunday morning rain is falling. I used to do that. The crowd loved that song. Everybody loves Adam Levine. But yeah, so I would do those songs and everything. And about 6 months later, he said, "Our business is failing. We are not getting enough customers. So unfortunately, we're going to have to lay you off." Now, prior to this, actually, I'm going too fast. But he told me, oh, I can't believe I forgot to tell this. Damn, this is definitely going to be long form. But he told me, he said, "Roy, listen, no, first he was like, once he hired me, this is how this conversation went. I can't believe I remember this. He said, so, how much you want?" I'm 18. I'm bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to be paid. You know what my goofy ass said? I said, $15 a day. He started cracking up because I didn't know. I've never worked in the music industry. The most I've done was perform with my great friend Brianna at the, talent shows or whatnot. So I didn't know none of this. I was like, what? And he just started cracking. That's the first time I seen him laugh in that whole time or smile or anything. He was like, "We're going to start you 75 a day. How about that? $75 a day. So that's about $18 an hour. And you would do work for 3 days, Thursday through Saturday. Those are our hottest days, and you'll work 4-hour sets. So I would work for 4 hours, and do 4 sets, and get paid $75, and get paid every week." So I was like, "Oh shit, $75 a week, $18 an hour, and this is 2010, when I'm making this much money." But yeah, but he did say, he was like, "And if we're doing good, after about a few weeks, I should be able to give you a raise." And I'm like, "Cool." So a few months go by. And I called him one day and I was like, "Hey, I was just wondering if you would be able to give me a raise. We talked. You said after a few weeks, if we were doing good." And he went off on me. "What the fuck are you asking about a raise?" And he's like, "How about you just don't come in? Just don't fucking come in. How about that? How about that?" And then he hung up on me. And I'm like, "What the hell?" I call him back like, "I'm sorry, please, this is my dream job, I'm 18. I'm like, dude, I had just gotten a room to rent and everything. And I'm like, please, don't fire me." And then he didn't come to the phone. So the next day that I was scheduled to work, I went up there. And he was like, come on back here. What are you doing there? I told you were fired." I was like, "Sir, I really need this job, man. I'm sorry for asking about the raise. I just really need the money." He's like, "All right, then fuck it, man. Well, then don't be doing that. You know that I have to work and blah, blah, blah. All right, go on out there." This is how this guy treated me. I'm 18 years old. There's still pictures of me on my Facebook, my personal Facebook. I'll post them with this video. But it's still pictures of me in there. I love the job. It was a great job. Great job. But my boss was a super dick. And he didn't fire me that day. But, as I said before, he called me about 6 months in. It was snowing. It was tax time, actually. And he was like, what did he say? Oh yeah, he was like, sorry, we're not doing well. I'm gonna have to lay you off. This is exact words. Until we get better business. I'm sorry. So here's your W-2s. We're gonna have to let you go. What I noticed when I walked in that day too, they were having a staff party. They didn't even invite me. He didn't even tell me. The place was still open after I left. They were still working there and everything. I even went there to eat with a friend one day after I was fired. They gave me a dry ass steak. You know, that's my first experience with working in the music industry. Well, technically the restaurant industry, but as a musician, that's better said. As a musician, that's my first experience. And after that, I went to college. I'm like, fuck this, fuck him, fuck racism, because, yeah, yeah. It was weird. Because he was an Italian guy, I could tell. He told me to. I shouldn't have revealed my hair. I'm gonna see if my editing skills is good and I can edit that out. If not, yeah, y'all gonna see my yeah. But after that, life got tough. It got real tough. Moved in with a friend, that didn't work. Moved in with my dad to go to college, that didn't work. Moved in with my mom to go to college, that worked. Went to college, and of all the things I could go for, I went to be a paramedic at EMT. And I got an 88% overall cumulative score in that course. I completed that course. When it came time to get my license to practice, because that's what you have to do once you become certified, then you can go take the final test for the state and be licensed in the state of Michigan to practice as an emergency medical technician basic, or if you're EMT, regular EMT. So what people think is everybody is a paramedic. That's not how it works. It goes like EMT basic or medical first responder, MFR, or first responders. Then there's an EMT. Then there's a EMT specialist. Those are the people who can use those really big, monitor machines that, people who overdose use. That's who you need, a EMT specialist. And then there's the paramedic who can do all of it. They're basically the highest trained medical professional outside of the hospital. That's what those guys are doing. That's what I was trained to do. The 40, 42, or 46 steps is the scene safe, palpate, pearl, pupils' eyes. Yep, I went through that, got an 88%, which is basically a B+. I didn't take the license test. A professor who worked at Wayne County Community College gave me and my mom a raw deal. We were getting kicked out of our loft in Detroit, and she gave us a raw deal, took our money, and turned the lights off, kicked us out. So we had to move back up to Ypsi. Ypsilanti, Michigan does not have any college courses dedicated to EMT. So basically, those credits went down the drain when I came back up here. After that, I got involved with one of my exes, and we had a kid. 2013, my beautiful son came to this world. My life changed forever. I became homeless, just dealing with regular life stuff, not, knowing how to really manage things or not, stuff like that, not knowing what I was doing. And I ended up getting on my feet 2 years later. And I was still in my son's life the whole time, still there. Me and his mom didn't really get along that well, but it is what it is. And I got on my feet about 2 years later. And ever since then, I've stayed on my feet. I've continued working ever since. Being homeless, really, I had to restart my life. You know what I mean? I was sleeping under a bridge. I didn't have nowhere to go. Sleeping at a friend's house, sleeping here, just doing whatever I could until I could find a way to get my own. And now, I have my own. I have it. And God is good. God is good for the past three. It'll be 8 years. I've been on my own and stable for 8 years. So that's my story. I've worked in every corner of every industry, from restaurants to press plants. In that group of time, this past 8 years, and the past 12 years, actually, yeah, the past 12 years since I've gotten out of college. Um, you name it, I worked there. Taco Bell, Jimmy John's, press plants. I've done it all. And also, I interviewed the Ypsilanti mayor back in 2016. She was elected in 2014. Um, yeah, that's an amazing interview. You should go check it out. It's on YouTube. Just type in Roy Finney interviews Ypsilanti, Michigan mayor. I was very young, still inexperienced, like I am now. But I know a lot more about journalism now. I know a lot more about how to conduct a better interview than I had did then. I was very biased that she was the executive director of Growing Hope, which I talked about earlier in this video, and how they impacted me. So I'm biased. I'm cheering her on, and when I'm supposed to be unbiased and partial or impartial, and supposed to be really, yeah, yeah. It's a bunch of things about that interview. But going forward, I'm gonna do better interviews. I'm gonna try to get my mom, a great friend from Ethiopia. I'm gonna try to get her as well. I'm gonna try to get people I did music with and show you guys all the different things I've experienced. And also, I'm gonna be covering true crime stories that I think people need to know in short form. When I do my long form, I may just talk here and there, tell you stories and stuff like that, talk about things in general. But thank you for listening. Moving forward, I'm going to be doing a lot of different stuff, so I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy. And yeah, sorry for being late to the party, but shit, at least I came. Peace out.